Some of my white friends and peers are really showing their whole behind this week by sharing or reposting sentiments like this and like this, that supporting Palestinian people is a slap in the face to Jewish people who supported Black people. The same kinds of people that for the past 4-6 years have been saying, we trust Black people, we're learning from Black people, I may never understand, but nevertheless, I stand with Black people. When Black people said, we don't support colonial violence, we don't support state violence, we hope that you are hypercritical of the military, of the state, of the police, to encourage you to decolonize, to resist colonial violence, to end the carceral state, who are now confused when Black people continue to critique settler colonialism, critique state violence, critique the carceral system, particularly this week in regard to the practices of the State of Israel. And these same people are often reposting posts from far-right conservatives, the same people who 2 weeks ago they would have defined as morally reprehensible. Now your moral compasses are aligned? And it doesn't seem to be causing them to think, well, I've been trusting these Black people for the past 4 years, and I have trusted these far-right conservatives never, so maybe I should rethink my stance on this. So in this process of white people and white Jewish people wholeheartedly and uncritically supporting the State of Israel, you have taught us two things. First being that you were never really listening to Black people. And two, it was transactional. You thought you would get something out of it in the long run. There is a long and storied history between the Black liberation movement and the Palestinian liberation movement. And there is a long and storied history of Black and Jewish solidarity. Of course, none of these groups are monoliths, and there's a lot of overlap between those groups. And this is not to discount the white people and Jewish people who I have seen take a vocal stand against the actions of Israel. But reshares of sentiments like this and like this, these prove that some people simply do not care about the liberation of marginalized peoples.
A lot of folks don't know that Chicago is the wrongful conviction capital of the United States and the torture capital of the United States, and most of the people being tortured and wrongfully convicted are Black and brown folks in Chicago. And these cops who are doing the torturing and conviction, they're being trained in Israel. All the major cities in the United States send thousands of officers over to Israel to be trained by Israeli police in these brutal tactics that they fine-tune on Palestinians. You know what I mean? And so they come back here and use them on Black people in the United States. It's very real, very, very, very immediate consequences that Black people here in the United States suffer because of the tactics that Israel uses on Palestinians. So Black liberation is Palestinian liberation. And that's why, when you see like the comments and all that shit we made in City Hall, this shit is real for us. Peace and love.
Let me Americanize this for a second so more of y'all understand this. When you see the pinkwashing and unwavering support by white gays to Israel because they couldn't even be gay in Palestine as if they could get married in Israel, I want you to remember these are the same people who laugh when folks in the South suffer in red states. Like, I need you to understand the connection here, because anytime there is infrastructure failure or a bad tornado or a bad hurricane or freak snowstorms in Texas, they are running online to tell people that they voted for their suffering. They love collective punishment. Maybe if you invested in your infrastructure, maybe if you didn't make it so hard for good people to live there because you're all bigots, these things wouldn't happen to you. F the fact that the South is gerrymandered, F the fact that there's voter suppression, F the fact that there's an active agenda against progress that is being enacted and perfected in the South. They don't care about none of that. They care to hop online and morally posture as to why you deserve to suffer. Remember that the next time you see a comment.
Israel has warned Al-Quds hospital, which has 12,000 people in it, to immediately evacuate. How in the world are babies in the ICU, disabled people, these children, these elderly people supposed to evacuate immediately? Israel has been targeting schools, churches, and hospitals. And when they see us getting emotional, oh, it's Hamas. It wasn't us. I know we warned them and we took accountability for it, but it was Hamas. And to all the people that say, I stand with Israel, I hope your dreams are filled with this kind of imagery.
Another reason that the US and Israel are having a meltdown right now, and which we haven't considered yet, and we should talk about it, is that usually the US and Israel and like Western governments, when they want to intervene anywhere in the Middle East, they use all these like, crazy things. One of them is, oh, like those Arabs, those Muslim men, they oppress their women, like they beat them, they behead them, all this stuff. And then they're like, yeah, so let's invade them to free the women, right? So I think that they would have deployed that type of justification immediately because, they're running out of propaganda, clearly, but they would have used it. However, it's so crazy. They are unable to use it this time, even if they want to, like, make up stuff. It's going to be so hard for them to, like, make up something like that because somehow the people that have become the face of this genocide and bringing awareness about it, at least, on social media, are women that, speak fluent English and who don't wear the hijab, which, there's nothing wrong with wearing it, but, they use that argument to say, oh, it's oppressive, blah, blah. So, yeah, women that look just like any woman in the West, right? What that shows the world is that these women are going out at night, pulling people out of rubble, reporting on all of the bombings. They are separated from their families. By the way, a lot of these women are not even with their families. They got separated, like, because they're having to report. And they don't have a man by their side, forcing them to be at home and, cook and clean. And the reason that all these women are able to do it is obviously because they grew up in families with fathers and brothers that enabled them to do that and did not lock them inside and not give them an education or some, crazy shit like that. And yeah, like speaking personally, my dad always gave me whatever opportunity I wanted, and anything that I felt like doing, he always encouraged and told me to, go for it, try new things. And he gave me that space to be able to talk for myself and, defend myself the way that I want. Like, he was there to support me, but he wasn't like someone who controlled me. And I think that the same is true of the fathers of all of these women. I'm sure that this is how they were taught. And the fact that all of us speak fluent English and, are described as very eloquent and articulate by everyone in the world at this moment is a testament that education is number one for Palestinians. Whether you're a woman or a man, education is number one, and it's especially important for women. Like, women are very educated, and they are perhaps even more educated than men in Palestine, and it's showing through this whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is contributing to the meltdown, because I'm sure they want to pull that card. I know they want to pull it, because if you check my TikToks in the past, all the comments in Gaza were people telling me, oh, but the Hamas is not gonna let you wear this, or oh, you can't be with your hair in Gaza, even though, like, I was literally walking down the street with short sleeves and my hair, and it's like, are you serious? But now they can't say anything, and I think this is a part of the meltdown. I'm certain it is, because by now, like, knowing them, they would have played that card, especially the US government. They would have used it. I'm sure Biden was like, oh, what about women's oppression? Like, what about these women? Like, can we say that they're killing their women? And then, Israelis were like, damn, no, like, we got this girl Plistia with her hair, and, like, she's so fluent in English, and people love her. Like, there's no way to cover it up that way.
Y'all telling black people that Palestinians are racist to us? Everyone's fucking racist to black people. And y'all would be so pissed if I were to say white people are racist to black people, because that's a generalization. So stop generalizing all of Palestine, like all of the Palestinian people. And regardless of if they're racist to me or not, I'm sorry. I don't think people should be dying because of being racist. And do you think Israel, do you think they're like, oh, Palestine's just so racist? Stop bringing up the fact that a country is racist to make the genocide of them seem less bad, because y'all would never do that. Y'all wasn't finna do that to Jewish people in the Holocaust. Y'all wasn't finna say, well, Jewish people are racist to black people, because they are, and they were, and they are. Y'all don't care that Israel's racist to Palestinians and black people. Y'all don't care about racism. Y'all care about supporting colonization and trying to look like a nice person.
Israel told the people of Gaza to flee through the Egyptian border, then bombed it. Israel told the people of Gaza to go to refugee camps, then bombed them. Israel told people to go from the north to the south of Gaza, then bombed them. Anyone who survived were in ambulances, and then Israel bombed them. Israel said they're only after Hamas, and then bombed the people. Israel then changed their statement, said every single person in Gaza is guilty, so they can bomb them. Calling someone guilty or a terrorist does not justify you bombing them.
Because you bombing them means that you are not trustworthy, which means we can't take your word for them being a terrorist to be true. How can a 7-day-old baby be a terrorist? How can an unborn baby be a terrorist? How can 1 million children under the age of 18 be terrorists? If every single one of them was a terrorist, Israel would have been wiped out by now.
Israeli police just branded the Star of David on a Palestinian man's face. The police used their shoe to brand it on the Palestinian man's face. Anyone seeing this should be appalled. But people of Jewish faith who still support Zionism, who are very proud of Israel, should be the ones that are most disgusted by how Judaism is being used to sustain Israel's abuses. This barbaric settler colonial state has used Judaism for more than 70 years to abuse the sanctity and the sacredness of the human body and the souls of an entire nation. This incident is an example of exactly what I mean when I tell people that Israel and Israel's existence and Israel's ideology is anti-Semitic in its essence. Because you can't convince me that a state that uses an entire religion and bases its abuses on that religion and uses it to justify its presence, to justify its colonial presence, is not doing a disservice to the entire Jewish community. I will always say this: Israel is first and foremost an anti-Semitic state. That should be the new branding of this disgusting settler colony. You can't keep doing this and getting away with it, and then when we go and criticize Israel, we're called the anti-Semites. Palestinians are not anti-Semites. It's people who stomp on someone's face and put a star, the Star of David, on their shoe, are the anti-Semites, even though they claim that they established the state for the good of the Jewish people.
So we already knew Israel was like abusing basic fucking human rights and taking them away. But here are things that we may not have seen if you haven't seen already. I'm going to read some of it to you. Okay, so Palestinians in Gaza tell this person that the extreme smell of death from thousands of decaying bodies that are trapped in the rubble has gotten unbearable in many locations. Also, because of the sheer volume of death and decay, flies are completely out of control. They are now everywhere and inescapable. And then the number of working toilets with water to flush down 90% of much across Gaza. People wait in line for hours, sometimes 45 hours to use the toilet. As a result, people are having to go wherever they can. Toilet paper and feminine products are now scarce, and then as a result of this, early signs that sickness and disease are going to start spreading around. But this is why we need to keep talking about it, because this is no way, shape, or form okay at all. Like,
on the Snapchat map, the live videos on Israel and Palestine show a bizarre contrast. In Israel, you can see people dancing, partying, or resting on the beach. But in besieged Gaza, you can watch heavy Israeli bombardment, paramedics trying to rescue victims, and evacuations of wounded to hospitals. In 6 days, Israel said it has dropped 6,000 bombs on Gaza, killing more than 1,500 Palestinians, including 500 children and 276 women.